Thanks for joining me today for episode 103 of Think Big with Michael Zellner. All positive, no politics. There's plenty of negativity out there in the world, but you're not going to hear any of that here. You're going to hear really positive, uplifting, and motivational messages from my guest. And one of those people you're going to hear from today, my guest, her name is Elise Harper. And does she have an incredible voice or what? Can't wait to tell you about her. She's a singer-songwriter who now resides in Nashville, Tennessee. She went to school at the University of Memphis Rudy E. Scheidt School of Music from 2009 to 2014. She is a Grammy considered artist, and her song That Jeep for Best Country Song in 2020, and it also reached number 2 on Amazon Music. Thanks for joining me today, Elise.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. Tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
Oh gosh. So I guess a lot of people don't know a couple of things. One, I'm like a huge anime nerd. I grew up on, Dragon Ball Z and all those shows. So I still watch anime as an adult.
That's funny.
Kind of silly. But so I love to watch anime. And then also, I'm a big archery shooter. I went hunting with my dad and, we did shoot guns and things like that. But I really because of anime, I got into archery because I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to be able to do that. And so then I was able to, start that with my dad, and we were able to grow and go hunting and do all that stuff. And I did competitions, and it was a lot of fun.
You must have been really good. I tried that a few times when I was younger. I never could hit the bullseye.
Yeah, it's hard. It takes practice. It definitely takes practice.
Well, that is really cool. I bet that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was a great bonding experience for me and my dad. And, he was just happy to have a daughter that wanted to go hunting with him. So
sure. Absolutely. You grew up in Memphis. You went to school at Briarcrest Christian School. Quote, yeah. Party hard, rock and roll. We're the class you can't control. The girls are hot. The boys are fine. We're the kick-ass class of 2009, unquote.
Oh my goodness.
I believe you went to school there for about 7 years or so. What was your life like at Briarcrest?
I feel bad now that I said kick-ass and it's a Christian school, but
that's okay.
I guess we were trying to be funny and clever,
right.
Then. I loved Briarcrest. I had a wonderful experience. Briarcrest definitely made me the person I am today. I have friendships from Briarcrest that have still lasted today. My 6th grade best friend who I met there, she came up and talked to me, and we were locker buddies, and we've been friends ever since. We just hung out last Monday to celebrate my birthday coming up early, and she took me to lunch. So, 16 years of friendship. It's those private schools that are able to grant, I guess, more access and more quality time with the students. It's, we had 100 people in our class, so we knew everybody, and everybody knew everybody. You needed a little extra help, you were able to get that extra credit because the grades weren't great. We were able to get that. And it was, it was Christian centered, which I absolutely loved. I grew up in the church at Germantown Baptist. We went to Germantown Baptist. We went to Harvest, went to Cross Point, just kind of all over. And I would highly suggest Briarcrest. It's a wonderful school. I absolutely love it. Some of the teachers are still there. I was really active in the choir there and all the plays, and so I got to be able to sing and develop that skill and hone that talent and really find out that I loved it. And so Briarcrest granted me the opportunity. So very, very thankful to them.
I grew up right around the corner from where it used to be in East Memphis, right? The Sweetbriar area. And then when it moved out there on Houston Levee, oh my gosh, it's a campus.
Yep. It's crazy. So I think we were one of the few, because I was there in middle school at the East Campus. So I remember the auditorium and all that. It was a big school too.
Right. It was.
It's a church now.
Yeah, yes, it is.
But yeah, I went there. And my mom went there, and my aunts went there. And so it was kind of a family school. So if I'm able to send my kids there, if I'm in Memphis, located when I have kids, then they'll definitely be going to Briarcrest.
Very cool. You said, quote, I have a story to tell, unquote. I know that your story is not even close to being finished yet, but what's the beginning of it been like for you?
So it has been a lot of fun creating this upcoming EP that we worked on. We went in this summer. It's expensive.
Sure.
As an artist who doesn't have a label, who doesn't have a lot of funds, who's literally funding herself. You got to save up, got to do side jobs. I babysit, I dog walk. I have full-time job, 40 hours. And then on top of that, I'm singing on the weekends, trying to gig and then doing writers rounds and things like that. So it's just always, no rest. But saving up that money and being able to do a project this summer was amazing. We did 6 songs in the studio. And I really wanted the first song which is part 2 of the story. I really wanted the first song to pop and get people's attention. And so I hope it did that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so the story has just started, but basically the point of the story is that sometimes you wish you could break up better with people, and it doesn't always happen that way. So.
No, it does not. I just had that discussion with somebody recently. It does not happen that way all the time at all.
It does not happen that way. And so that is the concept of the story. And it's going to take the listeners and the fans from where I want them to enter the story, share, and then we'll loop back around to the beginning.
Great. Quote, born in the rainy Delta of Memphis, raised on country, gospel, and pop, lover of Coca-Cola and barbecue nachos, unquote. First of all, why country, gospel, and pop? And secondly, where is your favorite restaurant to get those barbecue nachos?
Oh, gosh. I guess because my parents were very Christian conservative, they monitored everything that we did, which is great. I love that my parents did that. They protected our innocence and our reality as long as they possibly could.
Wonderful.
Until you get into the real world, But they were just wonderful parents. They wanted to protect us. And so we listened to a lot of Christian music. We listened to a lot of, I guess, Michael W. Smith, Amy Grant, all those people. So they had a little bit of country, a lot of pop influences. Michael W. Smith's Christmas album is still one of my favorites that exists. But we grew up on Celine Dion, Shania Twain, Michael Jackson, all the greats. So that's just kind of where my influence came from. And it's funny because my mom, she taught choir at church at Germantown Baptist where we went. But my dad was always the one bringing in new artists and saying, oh, hey, I found this person. Like, I don't know who Celine Dion is, but we should listen to her. She sounds really good. Or, oh my gosh, everyone's talking about Michael Jackson. I just got his new album. Let's do that. So he was always the one introducing us to new music. And he was kind of, my mom was definitely more strict. And my dad was like, it's okay. It's okay. Right. It's like they can listen to Michael Jackson. It's okay. Well, it won't corrupt them,
So sometimes you played them against each other there a little bit.
Sometimes.
In a fun way. In a fun way.
I just want to listen to this song, Dad. It was never like, Mom said this and don't do that. But it was like, come on. He was a fun parent. So I knew I could get away with more with him.
What about the barbecue nachos?
Oh gosh, there's so many good ones. I love Central. Central, you can never go wrong.
Right.
Corky's, they have really good barbecue nachos.
Yes, they do.
And then the FedEx Forum doesn't have bad barbecue nachos either. So I always get those whenever I go to a game or a concert.
I think they might be, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Rendezvous does some food there. So maybe the Rendezvous nachos there. They're great. Might be. Yeah, all those are good. I like all those too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of music, you just mentioned her. One of your favorite quotes is by Celine Dion. It says, quote, music clears away from the soul the dust of everyday life, unquote. What does that mean to you?
That just means to me that there's a song for everything, for every situation, for every emotion you're in, for anything you're feeling. You can put on a song, close your eyes, put the rest of the world out, and you can just for me, I guess visually, I'm just letting the music flow over me, clearing away the dust of the world and all the problems and all the issues that I have, and just really just going into that song and feeling that emotion, whether it's crying, whether it's laughing, whether it's being happy or being angry or like wanting to pump up and go to the gym, any of those things. There's a song that can help you with those emotions and just wash away the dust or all the negativity you're feeling, I guess.
I found that music helps de-stress me. Like, especially I'll go drive and turn the music on loud and just drive around for a little while. And it does pump me up and also relaxes me and calms me down if I'm stressed out about something. So that's a wonderful quote. I love that from Celine Dion. I'm glad what you said it meant to you right there is a perfect example. So that's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Back in August of 2021, you said, quote, 6 years ago, I decided to move from Memphis to Nashville to chase a crazy dream and it's been the best decision I've ever made. There have been a lot of ups and downs, but I'm thankful for every single one. I've met so many amazing people and even made a couple of lifelong friends. I made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot of lessons, but I'm grateful for every single one because it has brought me to where I am today, unquote. You left Memphis not too long after college, at least. That's a very mature decision to make at a young age. You obviously, want this and wanted this, really badly, to have, you have some big goals that you want to accomplish, didn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I had a wonderful family and friendship base that were so supportive and 100% behind me. And they're like, you can do it. Like, it's just going to take time and the right person has to see you, but it's going to happen. Like it's never been a question. It's always just been when,
Right.
so I knew I've always loved singing. I guess I didn't really realize that, I can actually maybe make this a career when I was 18.
Right.
I remember I heard myself for the first time. We recorded something in the studio at the vocal studio I was at. And I'd never heard myself sing on a recording, you hear yourself sing out and
Sure.
through your ears, but it's different when you hear it
Yeah.
in the car. And so they wanted to give us a whole studio experience. So we paid to go in there and record a song and him mix everything and all the things. And so I heard it and I was like, that's me? I was like, that's what I sound like? I was like, are you kidding? My mom was like, yeah, that's you. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, maybe I can do this. It was just kind of a click. And I was like, wow. I was like, maybe I could do this. Maybe I can make this a career. And so then in college, I was blessed to have a full ride at the University of Memphis all 5 years that I went because of Sound Fusion. So if anybody's listening to this and looking for college money, I definitely suggest try out for Sound Fusion. They pay for everything, all your classes. They don't pay for your books. And it's just a wonderful way to perform and go out there. So we would go to middle schools and high schools, and we would try to recruit people to come to the University of Memphis and say, hey, we have a wonderful music system. If you like to sing, you can be a part of this group. You can try out, you can audition, you can get a full ride. So we're basically ambassadors for the school. And so after doing that for 5 years and touring and honing the skill and performing and really coming into who I am as a performer, I was like, it's time to get out of here. Like I love Memphis. It's my city. It's my home, but there is more opportunity, to grow, especially in country.
Sure.
Memphis is definitely more blues and soul and rock and roll. Thank you, Elvis. Right. But I just knew everyone said, you need to get to Nashville. You need to get to Nashville. And so I saved up for a whole year after college. I graduated and then I moved to Nashville. Didn't know anybody, just literally found somebody on Craigslist that I could room with. And the reason we liked each other was because her dog's name was Memphis. And I was like, oh, perfect.
That's really cool.
I was like, great. So we were roommates. She was wonderful. And I just it took me a while to get my grounding here up in Nashville. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about the music industry. I didn't know you had to write songs. I knew nothing. I just came in blind and was thrown to the wolves.
Sometimes that's better.
It is. It makes you appreciate it. It makes you appreciate it more. But like I said in that post, I made a lot of mistakes. I trusted people I shouldn't have trusted with finances and potentially signing things, and it just wasn't handled correctly. And so I've learned a lot from that. I've learned, people like to talk, and their talk isn't always true, or doesn't happen. So you kind of just got to watch out for the people that could maybe snake you or something. You just got it makes you wise. Being in Nashville can make you wise. So hopefully some people get lost in it.
And can't stress enough the importance of that strong support system, at home. That means everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. My parents are so supportive. My extended family is so supportive. All my friends are so supportive. I couldn't have a better support system.
You said, quote, shout out to all the people who are trying to love themselves in a world that is constantly telling them not to, unquote. I think you nailed it right there. Unfortunately, society today is exactly like that, especially on social media. People can be just brutal and, they're always pointing out flaws and others all the time. What are the main couple things that you love about you?
Oh gosh, that's so hard.
I know. I know it's hard.
That's hard. I like that I'm a hard worker. I set a goal, and whether I know how to get to that goal or not, I set the goal, I do the research to figure out how to get to that goal, and I try to take baby steps to get me closer to it. Might not hit it every time. It might take a couple of mistakes and stepping backwards and then realizing, oh, I should have done that, or oh, I need to go this way. So I guess that just having a plan and always knowing that, hey, even if something falls through, there's another way to do it. Not giving up. I that's one of the things. I don't give up. I've been knocked down so many times by so many different things in so many different ways. And it's just like, all right, let's get up again. Let's dust off and let's go. Like, it's not the first time. It won't be the last. So
Right.
Not giving up is one thing that I do, I guess, admire about myself. And then I'm really loyal. I guess that's kind of my flaw too. It's my greatest thing and my greatest weakness. So
I get that. Yeah, my dad told me that all the time. You trust too easily. And one thing that when I was researching you, one thing that I found that I could say that I loved about you is I could tell how much you actually genuinely care about the people around you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all I have,
Right.
and you can always make new friends. You can always become good friends with acquaintances and things like that. But I don't know. It's so hard as an adult. And I know you know this. It's hard just in general to make friends. And as an adult, it's almost impossible because you have your crazy life schedule, you have your work, you have your family, you have all the other stuff. And so to go out and make friends as an adult is hard. And then half the time you realize, oh, maybe I don't want to be friends with that person.
Right.
They perceive themselves to be someone they were not. And so that's hard too. And it's just important to take care of your people. My dad, that was the one thing I will never forget that my dad just ingrained in me. He goes, you know what? You take care of your people, they'll take care of you. When you really need something, they got you. And he was, even the smallest things, packing a lunch, him and his buddies would go hunting, and he'd be the one that packed the lunch. He'd make little sandwiches, bring the crackers, nuts, peanuts, whatever he did for fishing and hunting. And that, anytime he didn't have money and they stopped at a gas station, they're like, oh, I got you. You always fix lunch. Let me get lunch today. Just, little things like that. They just add up, and that's how you build friendships, and that's how you build relationships, and you just help each other.
Absolutely. Little things make the big things happen, and they mean everything.
They do. They mean everything.
You've not only performed in front of very large crowds, you like halftime at the FedEx Forum at the Grizzlies games, but you've also were on the Netflix on the original series Sing On, episode 7, Summer Anthems. How did that come about for you, and what was that experience like?
That was the most random thing that ever happened. Some girl posted on her Instagram story, hey, if you like karaoke contests, sign up for this karaoke contest. I was like, cool. There's a prize. You can win money. I was like, cool, great. I was like, it's Nashville, so there'll probably be a ton of great people. I was like, but might as well. Maybe I can win $500.
Right.
So I blindly go to this website and sign up. And this is a detailed, in-depth, ridiculously 12-page long, all this information. And they wanted a video right there and all this stuff they wanted me to upload. And I was like, what is this? I was like, this seems like it's more than just a karaoke contest. Usually you send in a video, you fill out your name, put in your email, they'll get back. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I was like, whatever. So I took 45 minutes to fill all this out, and I send it, and I don't even think about it again. And then I get an email, and they're like, hey, we want you to come and audition. We're going to be in Nashville. We want you to come and audition for the karaoke contest. And I was like, okay. Still didn't realize that it wasn't in Nashville. It wasn't like a Nashville karaoke contest.
Right.
Okay. I was like, that's kind of weird. I've never had to audition for a karaoke contest. I was like, all right. So I had 101. I was sick as a dog. This was before COVID. This was back in 2019. I was sick as a dog, and I was like, well, I'm really sick. Are y'all going to be here tomorrow? And he was like, no, you got to come today. I was like, all right, well, I have 101, but I'm coming. So, no one got near me. I stood way back, performed, sang 3 or 4 songs. And they were like, well, you were great. We loved you. We'll be in touch. I was like, cool. So I leave, don't think about it. Don't hear anything for a month or 2. And then I get an email, and they're like, hey, you've made it to the final round of the karaoke contest. I was like, what? I was like, okay. And they were like, we want to do a Zoom call with you. I was like, all right. I was like, this is so weird. I was like, what is this? I was like, this is not a normal karaoke contest.
Right.
Still had no idea. Was just blind. And so we get into the interview and we do all this stuff. They're like, "Hey, like we picked you. We picked you, but we're just trying to figure out where we're going to put you." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "Is it not just go on stage, sing a karaoke song, perform, and that's it?" And she goes, "No, has nobody told you?" And I was like, "No." She was like, "This is for a TV show." I was like, "What?"
Wow.
Like, that has not been in any of the information I've received. And she was like, "Well, we're supposed to be secretive. We can't tell you what the network is yet until everything is finalized." And I was like, "Oh my gosh," I'm thinking, ABC or, something, maybe HBO, something
Right.
big. I was like, wow, I was like, this is kind of cool. And so I auditioned, they picked me, everything was good. And so we didn't know until 2 weeks. Oh, and they were like, "Oh, well, you need a passport." I was like, "Why do I need a passport?" I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I have my passport." And then like 2 weeks, we didn't know we were flying out to London for like 2 weeks till 2 weeks up to it. And then we didn't find out until 2 weeks up to that it was for Netflix. And we were like, "Oh my gosh," everyone was freaking out, or I was freaking out. I'm assuming the other people are freaking out.
Right.
um, but so we get there, we fly over there, we all are staying in the same hotel, and we, talk to each other and meet each other. And then they drive us to the studio, and it was the same studio that 007 was filmed in, and the new upcoming live aerial action movie is filmed in. So that's cool. And then we get in there, and they tell us all the rules. They're like, "Hey, it's a karaoke contest, and you're going to be judged by our vocalizer. So the more you sing exactly like the person singing the song, the closer you will be to winning, because we want it to be exactly the same." We're like, "Cool, great." So they didn't tell us until we were going on to film. And they're like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, you're voting each other off."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we'd all been buddy friends, all day long. They made us, get all close and be sweet, because we're like, "Oh, it's a skill thing. It's not
Sure.
a vote anyone off thing." No one said that. And so as soon as they did that, everyone was just like, it was awful. It was terrible. It was terrible. And they told us, they were like, "You have to vote someone off. You have to give a reason why. And you can't not say a reason why." And I was like, "No." I was like, "This is terrible."
Oh, that had to be hard.
It was awful. That was the worst part about it. But it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. Netflix took such good care of us. They treated us like movie stars. They had like makeup artists. We got to go in and like have our outfit picked out and things like that. They did our hair. It was really cool. It was a fun experience. We got to go in there and rehearse and stand on the stage and film a little bit. So that was a lot of fun. And in between sets, they'd, do makeup to make sure we weren't sweating with the lights and everything. And the band that they had, the live band, was incredible and amazing. They were on point. The audience was so sweet and kind. Titus was incredible. He was so nice and so genuine. Just a great guy and so funny. He was so funny. But loved him, kind of fangirled a little bit. I was like, "Oh, I
Right.
love you."
You got chosen by, I mean, there must have been thousands upon thousands of people that had to have tried out for this.
I
And
don't even know, because the
had
way
to
I
have been.
found out about it was so discreet. It was just an Instagram post. And so I would think they said a couple thousand tried out for it, but I just am shocked that it came about the way that it did. It wasn't like an ad I saw and was like, "This
Right.
is for Netflix." It was just like karaoke contest. I was like, "Oh, okay, I can maybe make $500. That'd be cool." And that was all I thought. And then it just turned into this whole big thing. We flew over to London. I got a whole free trip out of it. It was so great. So cheers to Netflix. If you can work with Netflix, do it.
And to get chosen to go over there and to do that, by people that obviously saw your talent, and recognize that, to bring it, that had to make you feel good.
It was a small win, just to be able to add that to my resume and just be like, "Well, I didn't
Absolutely.
win the show, but I was on it."
Right.
So, that's
Absolutely.
cool.
Good for
So,
you.
but yeah, a lot of fun, great experience, and still friends with all of those people today.
Wonderful. Quote, "Kind of sweet, kind of savage. I've never been a girl who cared for a crown. I've always preferred a sword. I'm tough. I'm ambitious. I know exactly what I want. And if that bothers you, then get out of my way." Unquote. Where does that passion, desire and fight come from in you?
I think a lot of it comes from Memphis, honestly. I mean,
Yep.
it's just, there's a grit and grind in that city where you just got to watch out for yourself. You kind of have to have a chip on your shoulder. You have to be completely aware of your surroundings at all time.
Yep.
I would have to, when I lived by the University of Memphis, I'd walk out with a knife to my car because there was like stabbings and shootings all the time. I was just like, all right, well, let's go. I was like, if I'm walking out into the world, let's be safe, I guess. Like,
Right.
someone could pick me up and throw me over their shoulder and I'd be gone. So I don't know how much fight I really have, but at least I think I'm spunky,
Right.
But just, I think that a lot. And then just growing up with my dad, he was like, don't take any crap from anybody. He goes, if they hit back, hit harder. And then, I will say I have had not the best dating experiences, and that has made me stronger too. That has made me realize, oh, hi, like I'm being too nice. I'm being too loyal. I'm letting people walk over me. I'm being a doormat. I need to, toughen up. I need to stand up for myself. I need to say, hey, I don't want to do that. Or, hey, that bothers me. So that too, just learning to use my voice in a positive way, not in an angry or negative way. I think you can communicate anything in a kind way. Even if you're upset. I think there's a proper way to do it and not do it out of anger. So I just think that, I think just growing up in Memphis, my father, my past dating relationships has just taught me to be tough, along with music industry. You get told no a lot. So you have to be very, very resilient and just keep going.
Yeah, the music industry is very difficult. A lot of people don't see it that way. If they're not in the industry, they don't understand what you go through.
Absolutely. It's almost a no every day. And it gets exhausting. It gets mentally draining. It gets depressing. But you just need that one yes. That's all it takes. It's just one.
And we talked about before we went on air, I had Josie Scott, who was the lead singer of Saliva, on several months ago, and he shared on his podcast with me. They were flown in by all these major labels in the early 2000s. They were flown in, put up in posh hotels in New York or LA, went and had to play in front of like big executives with their suits on and their arms crossed. And they got told no, 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 over and over. And finally, the final major record label, I forget who it is now, they called them and said, yeah, we want to fly you into New York, do that. And he said, no, we're not coming there. He goes, if you want to hear us play, you need to fly down to Memphis. We'll get a gig at the New Daisy Theater on Beale Street. We'll fill it up, and you need to see us play in front of our people. He said there was like a 15-second pause. He was on the phone with all the guys in the band. They were on this conference call, their manager and everything, and they were all like freaking out. Like, I cannot believe he just said that. And all of a sudden, 15 seconds, the guy goes, okay, we'll do it. Came down to Memphis, saw them play, they signed them, and then they obviously had several major hits. So you never know. It's that one yes when it's going to come.
Absolutely. I love that story. And sometimes that's what it takes. The record labels, they'll push you around, and sometimes you just gotta, no, I'm not going to do that. If you want me, like you say you do, you want to come see me perform, then you come to me. Absolutely. Yep. Good for them.
Yeah. Awesome. He said he knew it was a risk, but he said, I just had to take it. Absolutely. You also had the opportunity to be on season 12 and 13 of American Idol and season 4 of The Voice. What was it like to perform at that level, with some of the best in the music industry, for some of them? And, what did you learn most about yourself and your music during that time?
That was such a great experience. If you can audition for American Idol, definitely do it. I will say, what is shown on TV, as I'm sure you've heard from other singers, is not real. Yep. It's not a, oh, I'm going to sit all day and then I'm going to see Randy and all those people that day. It's a big cattle call. You have to go through like 10,000 people, and then you have to wait a month. If you get through, you wait a month, then you come back to the city. You go through like 3 or 4 different other judges that aren't the celebrity judges. You have to pass all these rounds. Then you leave for another month, then come back. Then you get set up in front of the judges. But I was so blessed. I got to sing in front of Nicki Minaj, Mariah Carey, Keith Urban, and Randy, Jennifer Lopez, and Harry Connick Jr.
Cool.
Yeah, and they were all so nice. They all gave wonderful feedback. And I was able to get through. And even the ones that told me no, they still, love your tone, love this, work on that. So it was never a tearing down thing. It was like, hey, you could become better, which I loved. And, just so much respect for those people, and just taking it to heart and being like, oh my gosh, like, that's amazing. Like, he just told me that. Like, Mariah Carey just said I had perfect pitch. What? Like, what? Right. It's crazy. And then Keith Urban was the first time I went. He told me no, and I was super bummed because I really wanted to impress him. He was like, "Yeah," he goes, I like your song, and you sounded great, and you hit all the notes." He was like, "But I don't feel the soul. I don't feel all that." He goes, "I need more of that." I was like, "Okay." And so when I came back, I was like, "I'm gonna get a yes from Keith." That was my goal. And so then he gave me a yes. So it was very, very sweet. He was like, "You definitely improved. You're great. I feel the soul now." All that. He was very sweet. And then The Voice, I was so blessed to be able to go to California and do that as well. That was a lot of fun. I didn't make it in front of the celebrity judges for The Voice. I got cut right before. So I was a little bummed about that. But I would say the most things that I learned from American Idol is be kind, because I'm still a lot of friends I have all over the country from just standing in line and talking to people for hours, because you're there for like 8 hours just sitting and waiting. And so just being nice and being kind. Always lifting people up. That's so important, because people are, I was one of the first ones to go. The first season I ever went and made it through Hollywood, I was the first one to go. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, out of all these people, I'm the first one. I was like, "I'm not going to get a yes. They're not going to give me a yes on the first one." And I got a yes. I got a golden ticket. And, it's crazy. But just being kind and then not giving up just because somebody says no, doesn't mean anything. Like you said, it just takes one yes, how they were, took that risk. It just takes taking risk and continuing to do it and not giving up and putting yourself out there. And American Idol taught me a lot about that, because I tried out, I think I only went to Hollywood twice, but I auditioned like 9 times.
Wow.
So it takes time, it takes consistency. And yeah, I'm really grateful for those shows. It was a lot of fun. It was a great experience.
Anyone that's ever been successful at anything has failed many times. I mean, told no many times. Fred Smith back in college, when he was talking about what he wanted to do for FedEx, the idea he had, I believe he got, I want to say it was like a C on the paper. And then I was told, and that story's out there. I'm sure many people have heard that, but I mean, obviously look at that. I mean, that was, I believe, in the early 70s when that happened, and look at the monster that, Federal Express is today. So you fail and fail and fail, and then eventually you do succeed. You just got to keep fighting.
You do. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also like to tell myself, because it's a 7 to 10 year town here in Nashville. I'm like, well, they're going to go through everybody. And if they tell everyone no, they got to say yes to me. Eventually it's got to come around.
like that. That's
They're going to run out of people. You just got to stick around. Eventually it'll happen.
Yes, you do. You said, quote, "Never been a sitter, always been a stander. Haha. I feel the music so deeply that sitting has never really been an option for me. I just got to move. I honestly can't remember the last time I actually sat and sang a song. If you've been to a show of mine, then you know. Shout out to all the standers, even when you're supposed to be sitting. Never let them dull your fire." Unquote. What do you feel when you're out there moving and singing and playing your music, in front of people? What goes through you?
It's just the energy of the crowd and seeing their reaction and seeing them enjoy it. I believe so. Growing up with Shania Twain, Michael Jackson, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, all not only wonderful singers, but wonderful, incredible performers. Michael Jackson, ridiculous. Celine Dion can be dancing around and belting high notes. Shania Twain, same, can be skipping across the stage and she's just giving it her all, and she's sassy and she's cute and she's killing it. And she can sing. So I guess once I kind of honed the singing skill, I was like, I got to perform. I got to move. I want these people to be entertained. I want them to be talking about it later. That was my goal, was to be the next Michael Jackson, the next Celine Dion, the next Britney Spears, So I don't know. I've just always felt music so deeply. And whenever I feel I just have to move, whether it's a sad song, whether it's a fast song, mid-tempo song, anything. I feel like there's always that one moment in a song. So whether it's at the end, whether it's in the middle, and then it kind of slows down. And so in that one moment, you have to make an impact and you have to make them remember you. So I guess that's kind of where that comes from as well. It's just more, I definitely feel the music in me, but it's also, I want to put on a good show. I want people to walk away and be like, wow, she was really great. She entertained me. I left wanting more, kind of thing. And I get wonderful feedback from standing. A lot of people think it's weird. They're like, why don't you sit with everyone else? I'm like, I don't want to. I want to sit, or I want to stand and have fun and bounce around and get all my energy out, because that's, why I'm here. I don't want to just be a singer and a songwriter. I want to be an entertainer too. So
What do you feel that your fans, get out of your music when you're playing, when you're watching, because you're looking at it from a completely different standpoint up on stage, watching people and their facial reactions and their body movements. What do you think that they're feeling when they hear your music?
I hope they're feeling what I'm feeling, which is usually a lot of sass. So if you haven't listened to my songs, please go stream my songs. They're super sassy.
Yes, they are.
That's one of the things I love in music is you can say things you're not supposed to sometimes, and it's
Yep.
okay. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. Maybe that's what they're feeling out in the audience. They're like, wow, she said what I wish I could have said. Or wow, she's doing what I wish I could do. Like I wish I could get up and stand in front of people, whether it's not even singing, speaking, or, giving a show or production, playing instrument. A lot of people out there are so talented, but they're scared to be on stage.
Yep.
Which I get, stage fright is real. Definitely had to get over it. And now I'm so comfortable on stage. It's not usually an issue. Usually sometimes I'll get jittery for being excited and nervous, but usually able to kind of block it out, professional enough to have done it enough to be like, okay, everyone's in their underwear. Don't look at them. Or just honestly, half the time the lights are so bright you can't even see the people. So that helps too. If you are nervous and anxious, which I do get sometimes on big important shows, I'm like, oh. But on writers' rounds, it's more like, yeah, let's go. I'm having fun. I want all these people to have fun. I want them to feel what I felt when I wrote this song. I guess if anything, it's that. I want people to feel what they're supposed to feel from the music. And hopefully either it can walk away making them feel better, healing them, or making them realize, hey, I need to do something about this situation. So that's kind of always my goal.
The number one fear in the world is the fear of public speaking. And I remember when I gave my first big sales speech in front of like 1,000 people, what you just said, how you picture people in their underwear, that's exactly what I did. And it helped me get through it. And it kept me smiling, kept me comfortable all the way through that 20-minute speech. So, the fear of public speaking is in similar, the same exact way as you're up on stage, you're singing, but you're speaking. So,
Yeah.
getting through that fear, obviously you've been able to master that pretty well.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's always fun. If you're ever in Nashville, you should come to a show.
You've opened up and performed with some, major artists, including, 2021 CMA New Male Artist of the Year, Jimmy Allen, and also multi-platinum recording artist, Sarah Evans. What was it like to play with them? If anything, what did you learn from them?
Well, Jimmy's a sweet friend. I've actually known him. I knew him right before he got his, or right after he got his record deal. So before he blew up back in 2017, he's always just been sweet and kind to listen. I'll send him music, and he'll give me notes or be like, that's great. That's amazing. Or can I pass this on? He's always just very sweet to help.
Nice.
So I guess if I learned anything from him, it's his work ethic. He's a super hard worker. He's always doing something. He is the most busybody person I've ever met. But no, he's a hard worker, and it's small steps that get you to the big steps that you want to be at. So I think taking a lot of little steps like he does gets him to his big goals, and he has big dreams and big ambitions. So wish him all the best. And then Sarah Evans was incredible. I got to open for her and sing for her. I think it was actually at the Memphis Stadium. I think it was for University of Memphis. They had a game, and she was the halftime.
Oh, cool.
And so we got to open up for her, but she was so nice. And she genuinely took the time to shake all of our hands, to shake everyone's hand that was there. There was not a single person that she didn't go up and shake and say, thank you so much for coming. It's so nice to meet you. And so from her, I definitely learned, I was like, wow. I was like, she makes an impact. She takes time to speak to people, to be with the fans, and to genuinely thank them. And to me, that meant the world.
Yeah.
I think I was 14 or 15 at the time. And I was just like, wow, I was like, this incredible singer that I listen to all the time, who's amazing and beautiful and perfect. And I was obsessed with her. I was like, she just like shook my hand and said, thank you. And like, she really appreciated that I was here, and I helped open up for her and all that stuff. And it just, that was a life-changing moment for me. I was like, wow. I was like, it was kind of one of the times where I was like, maybe I want to do this. Maybe I could do this. And then looking back on that experience as an adult and realizing she didn't have to take the time to do that. She didn't have to shake everyone's hand.
Exactly what I was thinking.
And it just sticks with you. And it kind of, runs back into what my father said, be good to your people and they'll be good to you. And I'm sure she still has lifelong fans from that experience. I'm still a lifelong fan. And that was 20 years ago.
And you think about that. I mean, someone like that, obviously she really appreciates what she does, but she
Mhm.
appreciates her fans and people. And, you don't, she probably realizes that every person that she shook hands with, it's going to, have some type of impact on them that they're going to remember. And that's
Absolutely.
someone that really cares about the people that they're playing for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, both of them are great and amazing. And I'm excited. I haven't announced it yet, but the contract has been drawn, so I guess I can say it. But I'm opening up for Chris Danson in May, so that's
Wow.
exciting.
Oh my
I can't
God.
wait for that.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Yeah, so I hope that goes well. That'll be in Thibodaux, out Louisiana, so a little past New Orleans.
Yeah,
But I got
I know.
to sing there
Familiar.
last year, and it was great. So, and they're having us back. So very, very blessed and very excited.
See, little steps like that, everything that you do like that, it's going to eventually it's going to pay off for you. That's wonderful. Charles Eston is a singer, songwriter, and an actor. He had several guest starring roles on TV series such as The Office, NCIS Los Angeles. He actually played Kelly's love interest in the final two episodes of one of my favorite shows of all time, Married with Children. His biggest role was a regular, main part of the cast of Nashville, which was a huge hit on ABC. You said, quote, Charles Eston, my favorite Nashville moment. Wow, if you told me when I moved to Nashville at 24 that I would get to hang out and sing a duet with Charles Eston, I would have never believed you. Charles is so funny, sweet, and talented. It was an honor to work with him, and he brought in and to be brought in on this project. Thank you for the amazing opportunity at CDW Productions. Thanks for making us feel right at home. Music First Productions. I can't wait to see what this song does. Unquote. Tell us a little bit more about that experience and how that came to fruition.
Yeah, so that was crazy. I can't believe that happened. That was definitely probably one of my favorite Nashville moments. My friend Craig, he's my best friend. He helps with all my music stuff. He's a freaking incredible writer, one of the best in town. He's working on getting a pub deal. But he's just phenomenal. He got hooked up with Charles, and him and Charles co-wrote a song with several other writers. And Charles goes, I really want to make this a duet. And he was like, who could I bring in? And Craig goes, I have the perfect person. And he threw my name out there. And Charles was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'd love to meet her. Let's do it. And so, of course, people say that, but then, and you schedule something, gets pushed back. So it got pushed back a couple times. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is never going to happen. But he's busy, and now he's filming Outer Banks. So he was over there filming that. I think it lasted a little bit longer than what he expected. But we finally got to do it in February of last year. And it was just, first of all, he's so handsome. I just went in the room and I was like, I'm not even going to be able to concentrate. He's so handsome. But he's so handsome and he's so talented, and he was just so genuine, and he was very sweet. He was funny too. He was so funny. But we went through the song together. We sat there and we sang it. And when I sang, you could tell he was kind of surprised. He was like, oh, well, I didn't expect that voice to come out of her.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh my gosh, you remind me of Hayden Panettiere. I was like, thank you.
I see that. Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. That's the best compliment ever. And then so we went and we rehearsed and we practiced. He went and recorded his part, and then I recorded my part, and he wanted me to change something a little bit. He wanted me to change up the tempo. He was like, try this way. I was like, cool. And I will say one of my problems is once I have a melody in my head, it's hard for me to get it out and change it. And so he came in there and he kind of like worked with me to get the melody while I was singing. And so he was just so sweet and kind, took his time to do it. We nailed it after like the second or third try. And he was just a great guy, and you was so sweet. Was like, hey, do y'all want to take a picture, and let's take a picture together so we can remember all this. And just, it was his idea. So sweet.
I saw that picture.
I know, it's the best picture ever.
Yeah, he is funny. Yeah, he was really funny. I mean, that was the late 90s, like 97, I believe, 96, 97, that he was on Married with Children, the last two episodes. So he obviously, that's probably one of his beginning part of his career in TV. And he was really funny in that show. So I remembered him as soon as I saw the name and saw his face. I'm like, that was the guy that was in Married with Children, because I remember faces. And then when I went and looked him up, I was like, yep, I was right. He was in those last two episodes.
Yeah. He's had a wonderful career.
Yeah. He's done a lot of stuff. He's very successful.
Absolutely.
I mentioned when we first started your song, That Jeep, you released it back in May of 2000. It was considered, for a Grammy. Not going to embarrass myself and sing this, but I'm going to just read it. Quote, Strangers when we first met, and now I can't forget. Gave off sparks, jumpstart my lonely heart. Just two 90s babies, reckless doing 80. Your hands all over me, backseat of that Jeep, unquote. You know, that Jeep has obviously done very well since its release. What does that song mean to you?
So for me personally, that song was, I wanted to write a fun, upbeat song that people could drive around to. And, in the middle of the pandemic, didn't have anything else to do. So literally personally for me, I would get out in my car and I would drive and just, try to get the sunshine and the fresh air and all of that. But for me, I just wanted to write a fun, uplifting kind of romantic song. And that was, when I thought about that, it took me back to my teenage days. I was like, oh my gosh, like the first boy that I ever fell in love with, he had a Jeep and we would drive around and, we'd park and do all the things you're not supposed to do.
Right.
But do anyway. And I was like, that's what I want to write a song about. But obviously, want to keep it classy, a little PG. Right. So I just wanted it to be a fun bop, and I wanted it to take somebody back in time to a memory like that. So whether it was, a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, whoever you're with, just wanted you to feel fun and just have that memory and want to drive around with your windows rolled down, screaming with your hands out, and it's summer and it feels great. And it's just those, summer nights that you grow up as a teenager in.
You referred to this a little bit already, but you said, quote, one thing I've learned about working in the music industry, you got to have thick skin. One day you're pouring your heart out and soul into a project. The next day you're being told the project isn't any good. I've been told no more than I'd like to admit, but I'm learning from them all. You can keep telling me no, but I'll get a yes one of these days. Just wait. Besides, I've never seen a winner quit on themselves. Have you? Unquote. Very true. I love that. How do you continue to smile and keep such a positive attitude and outlook, despite obstacles that come in your way?
Yeah, I believe happiness is a choice. Life is so ebb and flow. You're going to have seasons of joy. You're going to have seasons of loss and sadness and grieving. And you can choose to kind of sit in that season and get lost in it, or you can choose to realize this isn't the end of my story and this is not how I'm not letting it be written this way. I'm going to take control. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull myself out of this and we're going to go to the next thing. So that's kind of how I look at it is, and I know that, I guess I say that lightly, even though happiness is a choice, there are times where, you're just really deeply sad and you can't help it and you can't pull yourself out of it. And sometimes you need a little bit of help, and that's okay too.
Yep.
But I do think for the most part, choosing to be happy is the main thing. It's just like, well, I can let this ruin me and I can let this be the end of it and give up, or I can just say, screw them. I'm going to keep going. So that's kind of, I guess, my mentality. I'm just like, I'm not going to let anyone tell me no. I'm too stubborn. I'm just going to keep doing it.
You sound a lot like me. If someone tells you can't do something, it makes you want to do it even more.
Exactly. And take pictures. So,
yep. Yeah, absolutely. Success is the best revenge.
Exactly.
A couple of big dates for you. May 12th, 2021, your awesome song Dirt is released. Then on August 26th, 2021, you said, quote, radio, the first time I've ever heard myself on the radio. Wow, what a rush. I finally got to hear Dirt played on the radio, a dream I've had since I was about 15 years old. Thank you, Lord, for the song and all it's done. Thank you, Country Radio, for giving independent artists a chance. And thank you, 97.7 Country WLGR, for spinning my song. I will never forget this moment, unquote. Then on February 4th, 2022, Dirt was released on the CMT website. I watched the video I was telling you on YouTube. Super impressed. Strong vocals. Lyrics are really good. It was directed and choreographed and produced so professionally. I saw it had over 105,000 views on YouTube alone, which is just amazing. That seemed very real to me, singing that song. You don't have to say any names, but I take it there was probably a message to maybe someone or maybe more than just one person there.
Definitely just one person. Okay. But I mean, and that's the point of a song, right? So yep. For me, it was one person, but for somebody else, it could be multiple people, or it could just be one person. But yes, I definitely had a message that I wanted to send, and I got the message across. So
good for you. Way to go. Awesome.
That person is no longer bothering me, which is wonderful. They weren't too happy about the song either. They were like, seriously, you did that?
Got to remove toxic people from your
Yeah.
life.
Don't be crappy. That's
Yeah,
what you get. I'll Taylor Swift you.
exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and if someone has not, heard the song or sing the song, you got to go on YouTube and watch it. Just go to Elise Harper and the song Dirt and watch it because it's a wonderful song. I bet you had a lot of fun doing that.
It took 45 minutes. It was the fastest song we ever wrote. I wrote it with Craig Wilson, Jason Lane, and Andrew Bayless, myself. And Craig came in. He was like, "Hey, I have this concept called Dirt," and I wrote the chorus in the shower. Or no, I wrote the first verse in the shower, and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, pitch it. Let me hear it." And he wrote it, and I was like, "I love that." I was like, "Let's do that." And so then, I mean, it just from the first verse, it just kind of wrote itself. I mean, we had that, and 30, 45 minutes later, we were like, "We have a song. Let's demo it." And then we loved the demo vocal so much. That's what you hear on the recording. So it just literally within an hour, the song came to be. And then it was just, it did so well. And I'm so proud of it. I just, so blessed. And I couldn't have asked for a better outcome.
Think about it, there's so many thousands upon thousands, 100 million songs that have been over the years that have been done. People still never run out of ideas for songs.
No, it's crazy, isn't it?
I know. There's just, there's something new all the time. It is amazing. To be a good songwriter, I think it's a special talent.
It really does. And I will say, so I don't really, I consider myself a baby songwriter. It's definitely not my strength. Definitely more of a singer performer. But I have enjoyed learning the process of songwriting and figuring it out and becoming better at it. But I tell you, my friend, who I've spoken about several times, Craig's going to listen to this and be like, "Oh my gosh." But Craig Wilson, he's a lyricist. He's just a wordsmith. He crafts a song so well and a phrase so well that in 5 words, you can have this entire, vision painted. And he does so great at that. And it really is a true talent. And he is so talented. And I'm so glad that I met him and hooked up with him and have been able to work with him. And he's been such a blessing in my journey. So shout out to Craig.
Wonderful to have those people around you helping you for sure.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Quote, "This is 31. Happy birthday to me. I was never one of those kids who wished away my youth and wanted to get older faster. I knew as a kid I had it pretty darn good. No bills, no job, no responsibility. I miss those days and sometimes wish I could go back." Unquote. Today is your birthday, January 23rd, your 32nd birthday, I believe. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
What is it that you miss most about your childhood? And, are there a few memories that, when you think about them today that still make you laugh and smile?
Oh gosh. I had the most perfect childhood. But I mean, and I don't say that lightly and I don't take it for granted, but my parents were just so incredible and so amazing. And they're 100% and involved and loved us and wanted what was best for us and played with us and, just listened and just the best childhood. We grew up in this house called We grew up in a house on a street called Country Place. And it was just the best house. My mom loves to decorate. So she had it just all decked out and everything that she thought was great at the time. It was very dated, in the 90s. Yep. And my dad would always come home and would start cooking. And so just having the house smell just like food. And then I would sit there with them and do homework and they would help me study and we'd go through flashcards. And, if I got all my stuff done, we make brownies or cookies or we can watch a movie and eat popcorn. They were just always just the best parents. So I guess if I have to say anything that I remember from my childhood, it's how wonderful my family is. My sister, I grew up with an older sister. And she was always fun. Of course, we fought and butted heads because we're 6 years apart. And that's what siblings do. But we're best friends now. We love each other. But I just my family, I guess. There was really every moment was special. Every moment I can sit here and remember and be like, wow, I want that with my family, or wow, I want that with my kids. And I hope, hopefully one day I'll be able to be a great mom like my mom was to us. So
you definitely appreciate that past that you have.
Oh yes, 100%. So beyond blessed to have childhood that I have.
Back in March of 2021, you said, quote, the Fab Four, my forever friends, 30 years old, 17 years of friendship, four best friends, 3 years since our last girls' trip, equals a million laughs in one weekend. These girls don't know how much of a rock they are to me. They've loved me so well throughout my entire life. They've always been generous, supportive, grounding, kind, uplifting. They always have my back and are my biggest cheerleaders. So thankful for forever friends, unquote. My dad used to tell me that you're lucky if you can count on one hand five people outside of your family who would be there for you and almost do anything for you no matter what. Very lucky in your lifetime. And it seems to me like you have four right there. Tell us a little bit about them.
Oh my gosh, I love that you brought them up. They're all Briarcrest girls. These are all girls from my middle school. So we did plays together, we did choir together, we did everything together. It wasn't like, no one else can hang out with us. It wasn't that kind of like, we didn't tell anybody that we called ourselves the Fab Four.
That's cool.
We're losers. But no, they've just been so supportive. They've seen me through my whole journey. They've known me since I was in sixth grade. So they've known me from 12, 13 to now. They've seen me develop in singing. They've seen me get better and better and better and just grow and move and chase my dream and follow that. And so they've just been so supportive. And then when we actually took that photo, that was right after my father had passed. So they all flew in, they dropped everything, all flew in and came to his funeral. Nice. Just, we all had a girls' night the day after the funeral, and they just loved on me. And I will say, as much as the grieving was overwhelming, the love that we received during that was just nothing I've ever experienced. So like you said, it was so overwhelming to see all the people that loved my father and my mom and our family. And so to have one person in your life and then to see it was just, the outreach was incredible. And so those girls have seen me through my lowest lows, my highest of highs. They know all my secrets. But I just, I love them, and I'm who I am today because of them. They're wonderful, godly women. They keep me grounded. They keep me focused. They keep my eye on the king, and he's the real reason we're all here. And not to get lost in the crazy music industry, because it can have its demons for sure. But they just keep me grounded. They're great girls, and I love them all so much.
That poster on the wall behind you is a perfect example right there. Friends.
Yes. I'm also obsessed with Friends.
Yeah. Quote, I met this wonderful man after he answered a Facebook ad of mine. I needed a guitar player for my first writers round in Nashville. He was the only one who sent me a video. He came over to my house a few days after, and 4 years later, he now lives in it. Ha ha. The word love isn't enough to describe what I feel for this man. Zach, you're one of the greatest humans I know, and everyone who meets you adores you and that little laugh, unquote. I don't believe in coincidences at all, but I do believe in the power of a moment. There's no doubt that he answered that ad. Things played out the way they did because it was supposed to happen that way. What makes Zach Moody so special to you, and obviously many others too?
He is just a great guy. He's one of the best humans that I've ever met. And it was kind of crazy just how everything happened. So I put this ad out. I had several responses, but he was the only one that sent me a video of him singing and playing. And I was like, oh, he's great. And so, I asked him to come over, send him the songs. I was like, let's rehearse. And he came and he just nailed everything. He sounded great. And he can harmonize and do all that as well. And then I just asked him, I was like, well, I would love to keep playing with you. And so we just, grew our relationship, our working relationship. And then that grew into a friendship, and we traveled together. And, if you're in the industry, you know that your bandmates become kind of like your family.
Yeah.
So he's just, he's like a brother to me. He always tells me the truth, even when I don't want to hear it. He'll be like, hey, that person's not good for you. Or, hey, you need to stop doing that because you're being ridiculous. He's not afraid to hurt my feelings, so I feel like that's important to have. He's just, like I said, an older brother. And then, during COVID, he, I think the house that he lived in was going to get torn down and rebuilt. And so he was like, I don't have anywhere to move. And I was like, well, actually, I just had a room open up if you need somewhere if you want to live here. And now we're roommates. And so now we know each other even better. And he's my family, love that man. He's the best.
It's so good to have those kind of people around. They're rare.
They are rare. They're very, very rare. But no, he's a sweetheart, and everyone that meets him absolutely loves him. But he's also, I'll go ahead and shout out his other group. He's in a duo group with Jordan Mallory, and it's called Tupelo Honey, and they're absolutely killing it. I love them. They sound amazing together. And I'm still lucky to be able to get him every now and then to play with me.
Awesome.
Yeah, but he's a great guy.
I lost my dad almost 10 years ago now, and it's so hard to believe that, he crossed over that long ago. He was my hero. I miss him every day. Some days it feels like yesterday, and then some days it does feel like forever. I know you've talked about it a lot in the podcast. You lost your father, Bob, a couple of years ago. Is it okay if I read something you wrote to him?
Sure. I can't promise I'm not going to cry.
That's okay. Quote, I miss you, Dad. I miss your smile. I miss your hugs. I miss that terrible cologne you loved. I miss your pancakes. I miss your dad jokes. I miss you loving on me. I miss everything about you. I wrote a song for you called Wasn't Ready for This. I think you'd really like it. I wish I could play it for you. I was ready for our dance on my wedding night. You holding my first child, waking up to you fixing breakfast, sitting on your tailgate learning lessons, heartbreaks you taught me through those mistakes. Because of you, I'm ready for anything as long as I live, but I wasn't ready for this. Those are some really nice words. And I could say that you didn't play it for him on this earth, but I believe that our, spirit and energy lasts forever, and he's around you all the time, and he's heard you play that song, and he's heard those words. Tell us just a little bit more about Bob.
Oh, goodness. He was just one of a kind. He was one of those people that he didn't know a stranger. A stranger was a friend in 2 seconds. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He would do anything for his friends. And that's kind of where I got that mentality. I just saw that he loved his people. And because he loved his people, they loved him right back. He was just a good man. He loved my mom so well. Just the perfect representation of Christ in the church. And I miss him every day, and it sucks. And like you said, it's been almost 2 years now, and I'm still getting through it, and some days it feels like it just happened, and some days I can't believe it's been 2 years that I haven't been able to talk to him and hold him and hug him. But I know he's up there probably fishing or bossing some people around. He was a little bit bossy. Loved him, but he was definitely he would try to teach you something. He ended up lecturing you about it. He was one of those people. He didn't mean to, and he'd always apologize. He'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to talk at you. He was just a good man. He loved to teach people new things, whether it was hunting or he worked with his hands a lot. He did some woodwork and dentistry and did some painting and things like that. So he always tried to pass that on to us as well. But he was just a good man. He was so rare in the fact that he did love my mom so well, and just took care of her, made sure she was put first, and made sure his girls were taken care of and well loved, and he tried to give us everything that he didn't have, and just worked himself to the bone so we could have the best life possible. So just the best dad. So supportive, my biggest fan, loved music, would be in the crowd every day, every time if he could. If I had any show in Memphis, he was there, even if he wasn't supposed to be. Even if it was a wedding, it was a private event, he'd be standing in the back just listening, But no, he was a great dad, the best dad.
Now he can see and hear every show. Doesn't matter where you are.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Absolutely.
One thing that I was told, you've probably heard this too, you never get over it, but you do get through it. You get through it. It's hard. It's hard as heck. Like I said, my parents were married 48 years. I was very lucky and blessed. You do get through it, but you never forget them, and you don't want to forget them. I talk to my dad every day, and even though he can't respond to me, I know he can hear me, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I'll just be driving sometimes. I'm like, okay, Dad. I'm like, what do I need to do? Help me out. Give me a sign, Yep. So same thing. I talk to him every day, and that it is crazy because I've lost people before. You know, I've my grandmothers, aunts and uncles, older aunts and uncles, my grandparents. I just never have felt the sadness from losing a parent that I did somebody else. It just hit me so hard. And it's just like you said, it's just you got to get through it. It's hard. It is so hard, especially when you weren't expecting it.
Oh.
It's like everything was fine 3 weeks ago, and then gone. So it was a really crappy experience, but everything happens for a reason. And I believe a man is appointed one time to die, and when that time comes, you can't do anything about it. So
I bet he does give you signs too. I bet
yes.
you see him and hear him all the time, because I know I do.
Absolutely. He's given me several signs already, just with music, and to keep going and don't stop. So
I'm a big believer in the spirit world, and there's a psychic medium named John Edward who I've seen him live. And he's amazing. And one thing he says is that our loved ones don't miss us because they have us. They get to see and hear everything we're doing. We miss them because we don't have them, but they don't miss us because they're always around us all the time, because energy never dies.
Yep. Absolutely. Oh yeah. There's definitely days where I'm just like, I know he's here. He's sitting shotgun right next to me in the car seat, and we're singing our favorite song together.
Absolutely.
So
speaking of songs, you just released your new single, Good in Bed.
Yeah.
Did an amazing job promoting the song. It caught the eye of Today's Country magazine. They reviewed your single and had some really great things to say about it, including this quote: "With an interesting melody switch through the bridge that intriguingly breaks up the vibe of the song, Harper slaps into the out chorus with a sing-along moment as she hushes the instrumentation for a few lines before hammering home the hook one last time. With this song certainly introduces a new feel for Elise Harper, you had to also expect that it would be, since it's been a little bit since we've last heard from her. By advancing her overall sound forward and skillfully enhancing the signature features that she first showed us, Harper has given us a song that not only opens her next chapter, but is also a bold declaration of how far she's growing as a gifted songwriter," unquote. What an awesome review. Tell us a little bit about the song, what it means to you.
Yes. First of all, thank you for the review. That was so, so kind. I couldn't believe that. I read that and I was just like blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, that's the best review I've ever gotten. But yeah, so the song has come out, and I guess what the song means to me is, for me, it's a part in the story where I had somebody keep coming back in my life, and it was finally time for me to be like, nah, you're not coming in. You're not coming in to my world anymore. You're not coming into my life. I'm not letting you in the house. Like, you are not welcome here. Shut that down. So that's kind of what I wanted to say with the song. But I will say, so my friend Craig, who I've talked about, he came in and he goes, hey, I've pitched this idea to like 15 girls here in town, and nobody wants to do it because everyone thinks it's a little racy. And I'm just like, oh gosh. I'm like, what is it? And he told me the title, which was Good in Bed. And I was like, okay. I was like, it is a little, a little racy. I was like, but what's the hook? And he told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, let's write it. I was like, let's write it. I was like, let's break some rules. Let's break some boundaries. Let's get the conversation going. Let's wake some people up. And so I wanted to, even though the title is called Good in Bed, it is a girl empowering song. It is telling somebody that you're at a bar with who doesn't want to get the hint, like a random person who comes up and starts talking to you, whether it's a girl or boy. It can be from either perspective. Right. Just like, hey, like, thank you for this drink, but I'm not going home with you. Like, I'm not that kind of person. Like, I'd rather be alone in my own bed. I paid for it. I don't need you there. Like, I'm good. Thank you. So that's what I really just wanted to embody, is that even though it sounds like it could be a little, oh my goodness, a little racy, at the end, it's really just a woman empowering song saying, hey girl, like, you don't need that guy. You're good alone. Like, you got this. You don't need to bring somebody back home to make you feel good temporarily. You're good alone. So that's really what I wanted to drive home there. Just that you don't need anybody. You can be good by yourself,
with the picture you took with the song, with you laying on the bed without somebody listening to it, they're not going to, and once they listen to it at the end, you're right. You do know it's different, but that's not what somebody thinks by listening to it. That's a good hook.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That was a nightmare to get, by the way. That was, it was like 5 shoots to get that one shot. Every time we scheduled, it kept raining. And so we had to like reshoot. And then the first time that I shot it, I didn't get the image that I wanted. I got other great images, but I just didn't get like that shot.
Right. Yeah.
And so I had to hire another photographer, and then he got that shot, which was amazing and great. But it took like 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, so the weather was not in my favor. So it rained 3 times. We had to reschedule. It was really annoying, but it worked out. God's timing is perfect, and we got the perfect picture. And yeah, so can't complain.
And you knew when you got the right shot. You knew when you saw it.
I saw it. I was like, oh, that's it. I was like, that's the one. That's exactly what I wanted. So,
what are the most important lessons that you've learned in your life?
That timing matters. That's definitely one of the biggest ones. In all things, whether it's jobs, relationships with a spouse, a friend, partner, music, just everything. So timing, I didn't used to think it mattered. I thought that was kind of like a bunch of poo hockey. I was like, nah, but it really does. Yep. So I think everything is already planned out for you. I think once something is yours, it can't get taken away from you. It might take a little bit longer than what you thought. But if something is destined for you, it's going to happen. It's just maybe not in your timeline. So that's definitely one of the most important things I've learned.
How can people find you and your music and follow you on social media platforms?
Yes. Please give me a follow on all social media. I'm Elise Harper Music. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Yes, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. But yeah, Elise Harper Music is where you can follow me on socials. And that also is my website where you can go and check out some merch if you want to go purchase anything, or check out my music on Spotify, Elise Harper, YouTube, Amazon, Apple.
You're everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's a positive thing. Good for you. That's great.
Thank you.
You have such a great sound, and the lyrics to your songs are very entertaining. I love listening to your songs. Extremely talented. I have a little bit of a background. I owned a live music bar in the late 90s on the Highland Strip called The Library. So I had a lot of bands that, were small at the time, like Edwin McCain and Fuel, that played there, that were up and coming. So I am, someone who, when I hear a good sound, I do know it. When I hear a bad sound, I know it. But when I hear a good sound, I do know it. So you have a lot of drive and tenacity, and I expect that your career is definitely going to continue to, progress forward. So I really enjoyed talking today. I'm so glad you came on.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for reaching out and inviting me. I really appreciate it. This was so fun. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and happy birthday once again.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited.
All right. Thanks, Elise.
Pretty cool.